This is the Voicemeeter Potato tutorial. These are the sections that we will be going through. We have Introduction, Voicemeeter Overview, Startup, Microphone, Streaming Software Setup, Microphone Tuning in Voicemeeter, Soundboard with Virtual Cable, VST Plugins in Voicemeeter, and then Conclusion. All these sections will be timestamped down below, so if you only want to know about a certain section, you can go straight to that timestamp. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Untitled for this Voicemeeter Potato tutorial. So Voicemeeter Potato is a mixer program for your Windows PC. It allows you to route inputs to different outputs and then basically just be able to control your audio much better than you previously did, and also it has some cool effects and just general things to make it that much nicer when you're streaming or creating video, or just making your microphone just so much nicer in general use. So when you have installed Voicemeeter Potato, you'll see this this window here, and to go through it, we have 8 inputs. We have A1, A2, A3, A4, A5 hardware inputs. We have 3 virtual inputs, B1, B2, B3. And then we also have 8 outputs. So we have 5 hardware outputs, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and 3 virtual outputs, B1, B2, B3, and virtual physical here. But we'll get into in depth of what each of these different sections are, what some of these different buttons and whatnot is. So first off, we'll go into hardware inputs. These are, these are the hardware inputs. This is where you'll be putting your microphone, and also a bit later we'll be putting in our soundboard. So first up we have hardware inputs here. We have our virtual inputs here, like I was saying before, and all our outputs here. So up top, hardware outputs, all the EQs and whatnot down here. You got external effects and special effects, which is new to Voicemeeter Potato, and then some recording, which you can do here. And we'll be using these external effects later for VST plugin and implementing that within Voicemeeter Potato, or using Voicemeeter Potato and VST plugins together. All right. So to start off, you'll need to install Voicemeeter Potato. Go to vbaudio.com, select audio apps, and then Potato. You can install virtual audio cable while you're here as well. Just download your exe of the specific file you want. I recommend donating some money. It is donationware, so I don't think you have to donate, but I do highly recommend it because it's such a great program. So once it's downloaded, installed, you'll have to restart your computer to install the audio drivers. And then you won't hear any audio on your computer when you boot it up until you have Voicemeeter set up specifically for your computer. You also need to open up Voicemeeter on after every reboot, unless you have it set up to automatically start up on startup, which is what I do. So next is to change back your playback default devices in Windows. So you go to Sounds down here if you're using Windows 10 like I am. I'm going to go to Playback, and you want to set it to a default device. And I'm using VAIO3, which is the B3 output here. For some reason, we have a default communication device. I don't think that really matters. You can just set it to default communications and everything here. So VAIO3 is B3, that's B1, B2, B2, B1. So it's a little bit confusing, but just look at the names here and you'll basically see what is what. So once the playback's done there, you should be able to see all your what your audio from your computer in the B3 section, but you still won't be able to hear it. So next up, you'll need to go click A1 and select your speakers or headphones that you are using. So this is the one I'm using. Set that to A1. So now you have default inputs and a hardware out selected. From this step, you'll need to actually route it to your hardware. So your hardware out is A1. Your default playback on your computer is B3. So you want to send that audio to your A1 output. So A1 right here. And then what you can do is you can test it by playing some music or playing YouTube video or game. You should get all your sounds from your PC to your headset, which is A1. So currently I'm not listening to anything like that. But yeah, that will get it sorted. So next up is to set up your microphone. And we'll go through that now. All right, this is the microphone setup. So what you want to do is you want to go to your hardware input 1 or A1. You want to click that and select your microphone. So mine is USB audio codec, similar to what my headset is because I'm using an external mixer as well that I have. And now you find, hopefully you'll see when you talk, this level meter will go up and down. That's how you know your microphone is connected. And if you want to test it, you can send it to your headset by doing A1 and you can hear yourself. There's a good way to test what your microphone sounds like when you're playing around with different settings. I recommend A1. And if you want to, as you can see over here, I've got it B1 and B2, and but it's not set here. And that's because I'm using an external effects, which we'll go through later. So you want to set it to A1, or you can set it B1, B2 here, or whatever. And we'll go through these B1 and B2s for your stream settings and whatnot later. But this should mean you now have microphone in your Voicemeeter. So next step is to set up your OBS to get your microphone from Voicemeeter into OBS. All right, next up will be setting up the OBS or the streaming software of your choice to get your microphone into OBS. So what you want to do is you want to find your microphone of choice, your microphone which would be an A1 most likely, and then you want to set it to, for instance, B2, which we'll be using here. As you can see, I've already got B2 selected, but if you select B2 like that, your sound will now be going to your B2 output. Now to get the sound and anything you want to go to your stream, you'll set it to B2. So I've also got my default playback setting B3 to B2 as well. Once you have set your A1 and your default playback to B2, you want to set it up in OBS. So here we have OBS. You want to go to your mixer setting here. You want to go to properties and you want to go to AUX VAO. So AUX is the B2, VAO3 is the output B3, and just Voicemeeter output is B1. So AUX is often always B2, number 3 is B3, and that's B1. So you want to set your AUX because we're routing everything to B2 will be AUX, and everything that B2 has will be the stream. Now I recommend if you are using any plugins in OBS, you disable those because everything will be going through those plugins. So your game and all of that will be going through those EQ settings that you've set for B2. If you would like to have a separate game channel and microphone channel within OBS, what you can do is you can go File, Settings, audio, and then you just set a new mic auxiliary audio device, and you can set it to, for instance, B3. We go apply OK, and then you find you have a second one here. And all you need to do is you just need to have one, your playback settings go to B2, and your microphone go to, for instance, B3. And then you have two different tracks in OBS, and then you can just set your plugins to your microphone and have your game not being interrupted at all. So yeah, that's to set up OBS through Voicemeeter, and you should be able to just stream now. Moving on, we'll be just doing a few microphone tuning stuff, and also later on getting a soundboard and VST plugins. All right, so now it's microphone tuning time through Voicemeeter. So we go through a bit of an in-depth section of the hardware input. So we'll be looking at this section mainly. Up top is obviously what hardware input you've selected. Below that is in the IntelliPan section, and this is where you can change different sort of modulations. So this is the default one right here. To go through it, you right click, go through each section. To move around, you just move this red square or blue square if you haven't done anything. And if you want to default set it, you just double click there. So what I do is just move it around up here. Up here's double voice, so it should be quite different. More bass, more medium, more treble up here. So you just move this around to whatever sort of section you like, and then you can change things here. Modulation, just move this around. Your voice gets all funky. Don't really do much there, but it could be kind of cool for different sort of crazy stuff you want to be doing. Here's just position, so you can go far away to the left only, far away to the right. So you can just play around with how far away you sound and whatnot. Yeah, I don't really do much with that because I want it sounding pretty nice and close. So the only thing I've really done here is just change treble, a bit more bass, a bit more echo, and so it sounds really nice when I'm listening to it myself. Below that, we have a compressor and a gate. These are two very useful settings to use. I have them set to 0 because I'm using some plugins at the moment through a different software. Compressor basically equalizes your audio. So when you do loud noises, it brings it down. When you do quiet noises, it brings it up. So you have a much more equal range of level for your audio. This is great for when you get really excited, you start screaming or whatnot, which we all do. So you can have a compressor to be able to just squish it down, so it's a much more nicer range, so it's not ear splitting to the users. That's what compressor's good. Using the compressor here also uses auto makeup. The auto makeup increases the dB, so you might need to lower it down in the gain here. The gate setting allows you to cut out any noise that are below a certain threshold. So if you like typing away and you don't want that hearing, or there's a background noise that doesn't want to be picked up and only your microphone want to be picked up, then you can set the gate to that and play around a little bit with that. So like a fan or anything like that, mouse clicking like that, you can set that to cut it out, and the only time the microphone gets activated is when you are talking or it's above a certain dB. Down here we have some new stuff in Voicemeeter Potato. We have a reverb and a delay. To get this working, I haven't played around with it too much, but you set it up here, and then you can set the reverb up here, and then it gets sent to the audio section up here. As I said, I haven't played around too much with this. I don't really use it that much, but yeah, if you play around with it, you understand. Down here we have external FX. So this is what I do use. So what we can see here is I'm sending the external FX 1, 10, and then I'm sending it to another program, which we get into later, and then sending it to B1 and B2. Which is why you can see it going up here, but you don't see it routed here. So that's what I'm using for my general audio settings, because I found that even when playing around with a lot of this, there's a little bit of background noise, a little bit of sounds I wanted to get rid of and make it a bit nicer in some plugins. So you just want to, I recommend tuning it with the compressor and the gate and then teleband here, and you can definitely get your microphone settings so much better than it is at default. If you want a microphone even more, then we'll go into that a bit later with our VST plugin implementation. But yeah, I recommend just playing around settings here, routing it to where you want to go. The mono, basically, if you have a stereo microphone, it will just make sure that it's all one level instead of having a left and right. The solo mutes every other track except for this one, and mute just mutes the track. So very handy. A few handy things. Mute is probably the most handy thing here. And that ends it with the microphone tuning in Voicemeeter. Next up, we'll be looking at Soundboard and implementing that, which then gives you a bit more of an idea of how you can change a few things around and be able to implement a few different features using Voicemeeter Potato and getting your audio going in different ways, so only you can hear things and whatnot. But yeah, so next section will be the Soundboard using virtual cable. Hello everyone. Next up on the tutorial is the Soundboard. Soundboard using virtual cable from Voicemeeter or VB. So I'll be using just a very simple soundboard called EXP Soundboard, as we can see here. So I got some sounds coming through here, some MP3s, WOA. This is a very simple soundboard, very light. But there are some other options you can use. I played around with the voice mod, although it was really kind of strange the way it worked because you wanted to bring in your microphone as well for voice changer. But yeah, we'll be using this to highlight the simple things. So what you need to do is, once you've got a few sound clips import into here, which you can just add and find your sound clip and then add a hotkey to it. Then you want to get your speakers. You want to find your speakers VB audio virtual cable. If you're like me, I accidentally disabled this, so I couldn't find it. It was really strange. And there's the voice that I was talking about before. So yeah, you want to put the speakers to VB audio virtual cable. This would then input it to the and then you got to do the hardware input, and then you got to find Voicemeeter AUX output. So basically what this will do is the soundboard would then output it to this output, which will be a hardware input into Voicemeeter. And then from here, you just route it to where you want to go. I got it to my headphones. I got it to my default microphone, so to Discord, to game, anything like that, and to the stream. And I've got mono on because one of the MP3s is actually only left side. So I've set it to mono, so everything just is the same. So yeah, and that's basically how you set up the virtual cable to do a soundboard. And so if I just quickly do Sugoi, and you guys should have been able to hear that. Just seen the dB level go up here and heard it on OBS. And this will also get ported to the Discord, so I can have soundboards through Discord. That's just very simple soundboard using a virtual cable. Hello everyone. Next up on this tutorial is to implement the VST plugins, and we'll be using this program here, Cantabile Lite, to enable some of the plugins for Voicemeeter Potato. Now first up, what you want to do is you want to install the plugins, and I suggest installing the RIA plugs. It's free. So you download 64-bit or 32, depending what your computer is. install this off, put that in. And then the next thing you want to install is Cantabile, which is this software, which can be found here at cantabilesoftware.com. And just download Cantabile. Then once you've installed, you will have to select a free license for the light version. The other licenses are 30-day trials for the main program. And I'll be going through, I'll just be showing screenshots of what I did for the written tutorial, because it's really hard to reinstall it unless I set up a virtual VM or something like that, because it's already installed and I won't get the nice audio when I want to bring through. So I'll just be using the screenshots to go through the installation process. So once you've registered, you'll get to the next following page. And for the audio driver, you want to select Voicemeeter Potato Insert ASIO. Your sample rate and buffer size should be set correctly by default. If this isn't set correctly, you might get some problems later on with strange audio sound, but it should be default setting. You press next. Then you can leave that as default. You should say in microphone left, right, out, out metronome. I just left this one default, and the following I left default. So they don't really, you won't need to use some of these options, but it's better just to leave everything in as default when you're going through it first until you know what you're kind of doing. The next page is the VST Plugins. So you want to add the folder path where you installed RIA plugs. If you install in the default path like I did, it would just be in C, Program Files, VST Plugins. And then you just add that, and then you finish. And then you should get a clear screen. So as you can see here, this is not clear. It's got a few things here of all the plugins which will probably end up after, which you will end up afterwards. So the starting point is you get an import port, and you will need to add route. So you select your main microphone, and then you want to set an output as well, which will be your main speakers. Now the next step is to set up a Voicemeeter Potato for this. So you open up your Voicemeeter Potato, you go into menu, you go into system settings and options, and you go in one left, in one right. You select these two, and from this you should now get sound coming into Cantabile. So you should see some sound going over here. Once that is done, you can hear yourself. Now what I found was that I got very robotic sounds coming through when I did this. If that's the case, I just restarted my computer and that seemed to fix it. So maybe it was just something like a restart for your audio drivers for Cantabile or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. So once that's sorted and you can hear yourself, so basically what happens here is your microphone will go into Cantabile. It will go through whatever, if you have any presets, you go through those, chain them together, and then go to your speakers. Now to hear yourself, you can simply either set it to your A1, your headphones, if you want to listen to yourself, or go to stream if you want to be two. If it's quiet, what I've done is actually I'm using the external effects setting here. So you go set it to 10, and then up here, so this is sends it to Cantabile, and then this will then send, and then we'll go through your stuff, and then it will go return from your external effects, and then you just set it to where you want to go here. So yeah, you can either use the audio routing here. So as you can see, if I press A1, you can hear it here. It goes right there. Turn that off and it goes away. Or you can go up here, turn this up, and does the same thing, from what I know. There isn't much documentation on this, so I had to really do a lot of trial and error to find out how to get these things working. Hopefully the manual will be out shortly, if that's the case. All right, the next step is to set up the plugins, so the main part of this endeavor. Now, so you want to go select add object, So if we scroll down here, you'll see that I have an add object here. You want to go plugin, and then just go into the other screen, and then you want to select rear cue standalone, and that will give a object here. Then you want to go to your main microphone. So yours will be set to main speakers. You want to set it to your rear EQ standalone stereo in. This will send main microphone to your EQ, and that should already be set to main speakers when you automatically do it for the first time. Now to set up this, you double click the REQ standalone one, and here you go. Here's the sort of what you might call it, the sort of sound frequency that you are currently experiencing right now when I talk. And I have this notch filter. So what a notch, now I'm not too good with audio engineering, so a lot of this stuff probably have to just learn through trial and error. But you'll see that when I don't talk, it will go down and have its background frequency. As you can see there, there's a little bit of a frequency there. What I can do is I can just change the frequency, and that's probably the washing machine in the other room might be heard. But what you can do is, if you have any fans or any background noise that is constant, you can use your notch filter and just cut that sort of frequency out. And it's quite good for that. It's quite good for the big stuff, like if there's like up here really high frequency that just keeps happening, you just put in a notch filter. So we could just change the frequency to about 100. No, see, usually it's around 200 for me. It's like the main stuff. I know, maybe it is a bit. Okay, so you can see the yellow is what is currently being put through, and the sort of the dark yellow is what's actual. So yeah. And then you could just change the gain, how much you want to cut out, and the bandwidth if you want to make it wider or thinner. And then you just, if you have any big frequencies that are constant, you can cut it out with the notch filter. There's a few other things like low shelf, high shelf, and all this. And yeah, as I said, I don't know much about audio engineering, but if you're an audio engineer or you want to learn a lot about it, then this will probably have a lot of cool filters you can use. So once that's done, you just close it off, and you'll have an EQ setting now. So now we've just cut out a little bit of the big noise. Next step is you want to add a new object, same way you did before. Add object, and you want to do rear first standalone 1. Now the next step is you will have your main microphone to your EQ. Your EQ would have gone to your main speakers. And from here, you want to just set this output to rear fur. And I don't actually know what the fur means. It's just another plugin that we'll be using. And then this will do microphone out. If you double click that, you will see a bit of a different kind of window up here. So what this is good for, and what I found through looking at it, is if you set it to the subtract mode, what this does when you do automatically build noise profile when you're not speaking, it will automatically build a noise profile which just subtracts any noise in those sections. So this is perfect for, like, I was having a lot of like sort of just echoing or background noise when I was speaking. So I wanted to cut that out, and this is perfect for that sort of stuff. So a lot of the finer details this is good for. As you can see, there's a yellow profile and then a darker one, and the red profile is what gets subtracted. And this little thing here is actually a mouse click when I click subtract, so it picked it up. So this is what that's good for. So you set crap, then you do automatically build noise profile. Hold that for about 10 seconds to get a good sort of average profile, and then let go of that, and then you will find that this is cuts out a lot of the background noise that you might have when you're not speaking. So you get a nice sort of just your voice, very smooth and buttery is what I found this is good for. I apologize for the coughing. I'm currently still recovering from my sickness 2 weeks ago. It's just a lot of congestion. All right, and the next two ones are compressor and gate. So we go into this. So you use the same thing. You add an object, you send it to that new object, send it to your speakers or send it to the next object. So basically just audio chains it. So here we have is the compressor. If you don't know what a compressor does, it basically equalizes the noise. So you just play around with some of these settings. This is what I do. This is what I just chose from another YouTuber. And what it does is basically if you're loud, it equalizes it. And if you're quiet, then it will sort of boost it a little bit. So you have a nice sort of even tone. So it's not ear splitting when it goes, wah! I mean, it's still quite loud, but you'll find that it deafens it a little bit. And also sort of boosts up a bit of the thing. So it's a nice equal tone. So you still get the sort of excitedness. It's great for those people that just get super excited and loud. So that's what this is good for, sort of just bringing it down. If you bang a desk or loud noise, you'll sort of bring it down so it's not as ear splitting to the video watcher. It might still be a bit loud, but it definitely sort of levens it out. So you just want to play with the ratio of how much it brings it down by. Like I said, I'm using 15, but you could just play around with what works best for you. I haven't really done too much here. And the last one is the gate. The gate is good for cutting out some of the background noise that you don't want to get picked up. So you only want to pick up your voice. So this is great for when you're typing on your keyboard. You don't want that click clacking to always come through, or the mouse clicks, but you only want your voice to come through. So this basically just has a cutoff point. Anything below that doesn't get put out. Anything above that does. So this is what you do last to make sure you only have your voice coming through the microphone when you want to, and you don't get all the click clacks and the little background noises and whatever you got going on in the background. And then that's what it is. That's how you enable VST plugins through Cantabile and through Voicemeeter to get a nice audio sounding microphone. This took a little bit of a while to get going. A lot of issues, but once you have a play around and you get through some of the plugins, and you might have your own plugins that you're wanting to use and you've used in OBS. The reason why I use it this way is so that I can have nice audio through the stream, obviously, through Discord, through video recordings like now. Anything that I want to use my mic for, I'll have a nice microphone audio instead of just having the nice audio come through stream and nothing else. Next up is just that's all we have going for us at this tutorial. Hopefully you've learned a little bit or learned a lot going through all this. Unfortunately, through the VST plugins, we couldn't have like a full walkthrough of how it works. But hopefully you understand what I've been saying and you go through the written stuff, the screenshots there, which will be quite helpful. So in conclusion, hopefully you've learned a lot about the program of Cantabile and a lot about Voicemeeter Potato and what it can do. There's probably so many more things you can do here. One section we did not look into, which will be probably another update, is VBAN. So that's Voicemeeter through the network. This will be great for those dual PC streams. As I said, I haven't gone through that because I don't need to do it yet, but hopefully we've got a good basing of how to use the software, how to route your audio, how to get inputs and outputs going, and how to get your effects and VST plugins working. So thank you all for watching the tutorial, and I hope this has helped you get some good sounding audio, because I think audio is one of the most important things when you're doing video recording or streaming. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.